I'm Jeremy Saffer, and you're listening to Brutally Delicious.
Jeremy.
What up?
Hey, sorry, man. Chris, meet my partner, Chris. He's been fucking up all morning.
Hey, man, how you doing? I'll turn my video on. Usually,
I don't have video.
1 second to turn the sound off on all of my things.
Yeah.
Sorry about the delay, my friend. You doing all right?
Yeah, no worries.
How you holding up during all this nonsense running around us all?
Well, yeah, no shoots for sure. Like my last shoot was the Dave Mustaine cover. I might have a shoot next week, but that's the only thing happening and it's local. So definitely out of work, but the book happened like right when COVID hit. And I got home. My publisher was like, okay, it's go time. Let's get this book done. So I was able to spend like the better part of the last 3 months doing every little detail of that. But that just went to print a couple days ago, actually, which is awesome. So it's kind of just been like, dig into the archive and figure out other ways to do things. Like I'm launching a Patreon next week, so hopefully that'll give some time.
What's up?
So,
go ahead. What is the book?
The book, Daughters of Darkness. It's basically a project I've worked on for 12 years. It's fine art portraits of nude women in corpse paint. It's kind of based on a lot of things. Based on, going to the record store when I was a kid, I would flip through records, and as soon as I saw something like a nude woman in corpse paint, like Mactatus or Tristania or anything like that, I wouldn't know who the band was, but I grabbed the record because I thought the art was so cool. Or, with Immortal, if I saw someone in corpse paint, I'm like, ooh, this is black metal. I will like it. So it kind of goes to that, but it's also crossing. I do fine art nude portraits, and I've done that my entire career. And that's been on this side, whereas I've shot bands for, 15 years as well, which is over here. This is the first time that kind of music and models kind of do this, which is kind of cool.
That's very cool.
So my understanding is you've been putting these, taking these photos for a long time now. How does it feel when it finally has all come together into the book Daughters of Darkness? Is that pretty exciting?
Dude, I'm elated. I've been waiting, this book was supposed to be out years ago, essentially. I always had kind of the idea of, okay, this is going to be a coffee table book, but finding someone like-minded who wanted to put it out, I reached out to, I got a lot of no's, which, everybody does in their career, but I finally found the right publisher who's, our first meeting, he's wearing a Satyricon hoodie. I'm like, okay, this dude gets it.
Right.
And, he was as excited for the project as I have been for many, many years. And the really, really cool thing is these models who shot for it, 10 years ago and then some, they're finally seeing their work come to fruition. I've never released a lot of these photos. They've never seen these photos. So it's kind of a victory for them as well. A lot of them have moved on from modeling. Some still model, but, it's really cool for them that it's finally coming out as well. So I feel like, it's for all of us, which is really, really cool.
Was it difficult for you to track them down after all that time to let them know, like, oh, I'm going to put this in print, I need you to sign off on this or whatever?
Well, every shoot I did, they always sign a model release before we even start shooting. So that wasn't an issue, but I did want to get in touch with everybody in case they wanted to update their credits because, some models who no longer model and they're like, oh yeah, I'm a teacher now, I'm a lawyer now, I'm a mom now. Can you just change my name to anonymous or change my name to, something else made up? Or I've changed my modeling name and rebranded under this name. So I spent basically 2 weeks reconnecting with, a couple hundred models that are in the book, which was really, really cool because some people I haven't spoken to since the shoot, sometimes 5-10 years. So getting to reconnect with literally every single model in the book was really, really cool. Some were really, really difficult to find. And I felt like kind of some sort of detective for every, I had a list and I was checking them off as I was, connecting to them. A lot of them are close friends. A lot of them are, really easy to be in touch with, but some are just like, okay, they modeled for a year. They did this one shoot and I have to somehow figure this out. And sometimes I would have a phone number and an email, but that's it. And the email would bounce right back, and the phone number would no longer be valid. And I'd have their name. I'd have to look them up on Facebook, figure out that that's not the name they use on Facebook, and do some science to figure it out, basically. But luckily, I was able to reach every single model in the book, which was awesome.
Were they all?
Did you come?
Were they all excited? Were they all excited to finally see it come out?
Yeah. Everyone's really, really pumped. I mean, they're all posting about it. They're all really, really stoked about it. And the crazy thing is, I did, over 400 shoots for this. And I want to say there's maybe 200 models or so in the book. So there's a lot still, content-wise, just there.
So that's book 2.
Fingers crossed. If this one does well.
Yeah.
If this one does well, hopefully.
That's exciting. I know I've followed your career for the last, and we've been friends for like the last 10 years or so. I've been following your stuff, and I know you've been working on that as we go. So it's kind of exciting to see you finally get your due anyway.
Oh, thank you so much.
What's the name of the book?
Daughters of Darkness.
Daughters of Darkness.
Yep.
So switching to musicians and your other side, not necessarily the book, but what was it like photographing the man himself, Mr. Mustaine?
Oh, Dave, I've worked with him a bunch. I've done.
You have?
Yeah. I've done maybe like 10 shoots with him at least. Yeah. I did the last round of Megadeth shots where they're against a metal wall. Mm-hmm. The promo shot that's been used for the last like 5 years or so. That's a photo shoot I did with them. A shoot with the older lineup with him, Ellefson, Chris, and what am I forgetting?
Marty?
Not Marty. Who's the drummer from Idolin that is now in Glenn? Glenn. I think it's Glenn.
Okay.
I don't know.
When Chris Broderick was in the band.
Right.
And, yeah, I don't know why I'm forgetting, but I did their promo photos for a while as well, so that was kind of the first shoot we did. And then from there, I've been working with them a whole bunch. And I shot Dave for, we did a Rock Hard Germany cover, we did 2 Metal Hammer covers, because we did that 300th issue, and we did the new one. But yeah, he's awesome. I know that like Danzig, like some other artists, he gets some flack in the media for not being, awesome, which I've just found to be untrue. He's always beyond accommodating, the nicest person ever, above and beyond super nice when he doesn't have to be. He's a legend. And
oh, yeah, absolutely.
The legendary dudes are usually the nicest ones. Like working with him, working with Alice Cooper, they're just like the nicest human beings on earth, whereas working with these mid-level bands who are struggling to get to the next level, some of them can be they have the attitude you would expect the legends to have, and the legends have the attitude you expect them to. Yeah.
For sure.
Did you shoot Mustaine after his cancer recovery?
Yes, that's what the story was actually about. So basically, I flew home from LA on March 4th, I want to say, and then I flew down to Tennessee to do the shoot with him. And he was in great health, great, like super smiley, super joking around, telling stories. He was just like regular Dave, just being awesome and
amazing.
Yeah, it's so great. And he's like, my voice is great, everything's spot on. He's doing well. He's in great spirits, he's killing it, which is great. He definitely overcame it like he does all things. I remember like years and years and years ago, Megadeth took a break because he had some sort of wrist problem or arm problem where he needed surgery and all that, and he came back stronger, and that's what he's going to do again. And then the cover story was basically humanizing an icon, which I thought was really cool. I actually just posted a photo of him with his dog yesterday, which is kind of like...
Yes, I know that. Like a Chihuahua or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's important to realize these heroes, these icons of ours are also human. They have their battles. They have the things they have to go through and, just like us. And they're not, these icons that can't be hurt, can't go through these things. So it's great to see him come out the other side.
Absolutely. I think photos do tell the story sometimes more than words.
Yeah.
You know, because if you can see somebody in a different way than the way that they're portrayed, it changes your opinion a lot of the time.
Absolutely.
When you're, I've got a question for you. When you're like hired to do something like with Dave or with one of these bands, is it your vision or is it their vision, or how does that? Is it a combination, or do they lean on you to come up with the vision?
It depends. Sometimes you'll get like when I shoot for Metal Hammer, sometimes they have a very specific, this is how it has to be shot because this is the end result and this is how we need it to look and how we need it to go. But I always kind of throw my own flair on it. Mm-hmm. But that's why they hire me. They're like, okay, we know how you light stuff. We know how you do stuff. We want you to do this in this way, the way you do it. And then other times it's just, we just need a photo shoot and it's up to me to figure it out. Sometimes a band will have, an idea and we'll kind of collaborate on, bringing that idea to fruition, but it's usually pretty collaborative. And sometimes I have, no rules, nothing I need to abide by, just do a photo shoot. And other times it's, we need this shot with this type of lighting, this type of background, this type of pose, and this type of look.
Right.
As a young band, I remember when I was young and in a band, and I would work, I'm no longer young nor in a band, but going through the photo shoot process was so unbelievably excruciating because we didn't know what to do. So how do you deal with people that are not used to portraying an image and trying to get them to portray an image that's also in line with them?
Well, I mean, that's the job. It's a bummer to hear that it was excruciating for you. A lot of bands who haven't done photo shoots or haven't done many photo shoots come to me, do the photo shoot, and they're like, that's it? That was so easy. That was so painless. And that's, I think, very important to not make it, you barking orders at a band. You make it a fun hangout where you get some excellent photos as well. You remain professional, you get everything done properly. But the reason a lot of artists come to me is not just to take photos, but to help, kind of mold their image into what they want it to be. And with our combined vision, make it so they reach their, image goals.
Yeah.
So someone like Wednesday 13, for example, he had a pretty singular look for many, many years, and then he started doing all these characters and doing all these different things. And we would do, 2-3 photo shoots a year for the last maybe 5 or 6 years, and it definitely moved his image into a new direction and spread out a whole bunch with all these new looks and all these new characters he does, which is awesome. That's totally his brainchild, but working together, brands his merch, brands his look, brands his legacy. And when I shoot someone with a huge legacy like Alice Cooper, Megadeth, Metallica, something like that, it's important that the shots I do are on brand with that band and their legacy. Like, I wouldn't take Megadeth and do something that's completely out of line for who they are, what they are, who the band is, because it wouldn't make sense.
Right. Yeah.
So when working with those legends, you already kind of have a history. When working with bands that don't have a history, you have to create one with them. But it's important that they're happy with it and they know what they're doing. And I'm someone who's very directive when I do photo shoots. I'm very, turn your face this way, chin up a little bit, take a little step in this way. I direct quite a bit. Whereas I know a lot of other photographers are just like, okay, be metal, click, click, be more metal, click.
Right.
And not giving enough direction is the downfall of a lot of photo shoots.
Yeah, like when I did it, I went through a lot of photographers, and with the exception of one who won quite a Rosalie Hebert. She photographed like Mick Jagger and everything for the Rolling Stones. She was great to work with because she would have these ideas about how you should be posed and perspective and changes. But I didn't meet her or I didn't work with her until much later in my career. Working up to her, they would just show up and be like, okay, what do you guys want to do? And we're like, well, I don't know. I thought that was your deal. I don't know. We don't know. So they would take us to a location with no plan, and it was very difficult to deal with.
See, if that happens to me, which does happen every now and again, I'm always ready. I always have a plan. But all of that is sort of the pre-production of the photo shoot, knowing what the band wants, knowing what you want. But if you're shooting, for a band and you're hired by the band or the label, you have discussions well in advance as to what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. If you're shooting for like a magazine and there's no sort of, there's no rules, you can do whatever you want. It's kind of like, okay, we're going to shoot at the Worcester Palladium. We'll shoot on the floor. We'll shoot against this wall here. We'll shoot here. We'll do 3 sets. We're going to get solos, do 2 different types of lighting here, 1 type of lighting here, and then a ring light here, and we're done. Quick and easy. You just go in with a plan, have a plan, tell them what the plan is so they don't, struggle with it. Yep. Okay, now we're going over here. Why? You make sure they know the whole plan. And that was basically what leads to a successful photo shoot and the band being happy with it and knowing that you're getting images.
I think this is some of the best advice for new musicians that I've ever heard in terms of imaging. No one ever told me this as a young musician. And I bet you it's the same for almost every new musician that's coming out right now. They don't know how to brand themselves in terms of it. And hiring a professional photographer that knows what they're doing, I think, is one of the most important things you can do.
Absolutely. Because not for nothing, but image is a lot right now. When
it's
albums
everything.
Albums aren't selling, everybody's streaming, people aren't buying physical media. Image is a lot, especially in certain genres. In others, it doesn't really matter so much, but in the metal world, the image is a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot in even in classical music, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's
having that really dramatic shot of someone on a grand piano with the lighting far above pointing down in a spotlight in a big wide open theater,
Yeah.
That's the shot.
Yeah.
I never really gave it, I guess, too much thought till I'm sitting here talking to you. And I guess it's sort of like putting together, getting ready for the album. There's a whole bunch of pre-production almost to get it to the point where you're actually standing in front of the camera. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's kind of like, okay, we're going to do a shoot. Let's figure it out, on the fly. Like, for example, the photo inside the new In This Moment record that I did was kind of like, okay, we might do a photo shoot in a couple days because you're going to be at my home venue. The whole band's going to be there. And as you can imagine, they're from all over. They're not from one area. So they're only together when they're on tour. And there was a rough idea of, okay, let's do this, this, and this. And as we shot, we came up with more ideas, from that rough idea and just built on it. And that's what led to all their current promo photos.
Right.
And it also goes along with your working relationship with the band. Like someone like Maria, who I work with often, we have a really good understanding of how one another works and our ideas and how we collaborate. Whereas if that were a band I've never worked with that don't know me, I don't know at all, and we went in blind, it would kind of be bad. You get a little more leeway when you have someone you've worked with a whole bunch and you know that what they like, what they don't like, and you get that after a few photo shoots. You know, kind of like, oh, he doesn't like this look, she doesn't like this look, so let's light it this way and make sure we get a bunch of shots this specific way. You can kind of go in blind and still have a really successful photo shoot, but planning even a little bit is really important if you can.
Yeah.
Now, when you're shooting, are you only using the screen on the camera, or are you also running out to an extra monitor so you can have a bigger view of things?
I can't do that because I'm usually, I'll shoot in this corner of the room, then I'll be on this corner of the room, then I'll be in this corner of the room, or then I'll be, at a completely different location, or even driving to and from different locations.
Yeah.
So I don't really have the time to set up an external monitor or anything like that. I'm just using, right against my face shooting. when you shoot enough and you use the same equipment over and over and over and over for years, you know your settings and you don't really need to check them constantly. You know, you do that first test shot, we're good, okay, go. And then I don't really check the back of camera until we changed anything up. But one important thing that I think all photographers should do is after a couple shots, show the band what it looks like, and you can get immediate feedback, which is really important because the band can say, oh, I don't like how I look here. Can we change this, this, and this? So you don't waste that entire set.
Yeah.
Because if they don't like anything from that set, it's going to get, thrown out. But also it can kind of hype them up. Like I did a photo shoot with the band Watain, and they wouldn't shoot in makeup with an American photographer. I did their shoot in their regular clothes, and I showed them the back of camera, like, oh my God, these are so good. We'll shoot with you in makeup. And that's how I got to shoot with them in full makeup on their US tour, just because showing them back of camera gave them an idea of how I shoot and what the photos look like.
Very cool. If I needed photos, I don't even need photos, and I want photos with you.
So Jeremy, I'm sure there is, but is there a bucket list of people you haven't photoed that you'd like to?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's constantly changing for better or for worse. And every now and again I get to take someone off the bucket list and put them on the, list of accomplishments. But, or unfortunately someone passes away and I don't get to shoot with them. I've shot pretty much everyone I want to live, but that's very different from a portrait shoot. Ozzy, Elvira, Ron Perlman, Henry Rollins, James Hetfield and Metallica as a full band. It's always kind of a rolling thing because a new band will show up that I think is really cool and be like, oh man, right. They're on the list now. Like when Baby Metal first came out, they were immediately on the list and I got to shoot them. So,
oh, nice. How was that?
Oh, great. It's really intense because when they do a photo shoot, they have a makeup and hair person right there next to you, reaching in during the shoot and, fixing things, making sure they look perfect. And they don't speak any English as far as I know. So you'll say something like chin up and then someone next to you will say it so they understand it and then they will do it. So you have that little bit of delay between, giving direction and seeing the result of that direction. But, it was easy. It was awesome. They're great. That band rules so much.
It's funny. They get a lot of flack, but I love them.
Oh, they're great. I mean, they're basically a power metal band with really young singers.
Yeah. Yeah. And a full stage presentation, too. I mean, they go all out.
Yeah. Their live show's incredible.
Pretty cool. So the last thing I've got for you is, and I think you may have alluded to it, but do you design your own sets or do you have like a set designer that does that sort of thing?
I don't think I've ever really shot on a set. I'm usually like a pretty simple guy and I'll shoot in any location and make it look cool for what it is, just with lighting and, a lot of white and black background stuff as well. That's just studio shots. But in terms of shooting on location, I'll just try to find something that looks cool. I've never built a set or really shot on a set aside from, there's a band called Tetrarch.
Oh, great band.
Yeah. We spoke to them a couple weeks ago.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, they rule so much. They're great people. We did a set where my friend is a set designer, production guy, and SFX guy in LA, and he does every horror movie you can name. He's amazing. We just had this idea to fill an entire stage with newspaper and shoot them just surrounded by newspapers because we thought it would look cool and did. So that was the one time we really built a set from something.
Right. What about scouting? I mean, does it take you a while to scout out spots, or do you kind of have them in the back of your head and know, what'll fit where?
Luckily, a lot of the places I shoot, I'll know what I'm going into, because if I'm shooting at a local venue, I know all the spots in them. If I go in blind, I'm going to go in, a couple hours early and scout. One of the most insane ones I had to do was that shot of Corey Taylor and Kerry King fighting each other for that revolver shoot, and it had to match the art, so I had to find a black wall, and it had to be a black wall that was big enough for Corey and Kerry and a third light to use as a backlight. And I'm at this venue in New York I've never been to, somewhere upstate, and I want to say Syracuse, something like that. And luckily, they immediately put me in touch with, someone at the venue who could take me around to whatever spot. And I'm like, look, all I need is a black wall. That's all I need anywhere in the venue. It took an hour of looking around the venue and not finding a black wall before they asked some custodian guy, like, is there a black wall anywhere in this venue? Yep, where all my custodial stuff is, in the boiler room, past the boilers, in the basement, through the back, there's a giant black wall back there, and that's where we did the shoot. So, it's important to get there early, because if I showed up, 20 minutes before the photo shoot, that shoot wasn't happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Chris, you got anything else?
I don't, man. I'll just leave you with this before we go. When I was selling a condo like years ago, I had this photographer show up, and he showed up with nothing but these infrared lights and a camera. And I was like, oh, this guy's going to fucking suck, right? Like, these are going to look terrible. And I was kind of pissed off because the real estate agent was charging us a lot of money. And then he sent me the photos, and I'd never seen my condo look so freaking amazing in my life. So I responded to him and I said, these look amazing. I'm sorry I was kind of hard on you. I just didn't know if you knew what you're doing. He goes, oh, I'm not a photographer. And I was just like, what do you mean? He's like, I troubleshoot light. That's what I do. And I was like, oh. And that one quote changed the way I look at audio engineering as a sound engineer. So, because now I only troubleshoot sound. I'm not
right.
I'm not trying to create something. I'm just trying to troubleshoot it and solve it, which is why they call it audio engineering. And I often think about that quote, and I wanted to get your take on it.
I mean, yeah, a lot of what you're doing as a photographer is problem solving constantly. You're always like, okay, I have a 1 inch by 1 inch spot to do a photo shoot. How do I do it? Not literally, but when you're shooting at festivals and there's no space anywhere to do a photo shoot and you have a big photo shoot to do, you have to figure it out and you have to make it work. It's definitely a lot of figuring things out, making sure they work, getting everything set up so it's good to go. There's those 30-second photo shoots with bands like, Slipknot, Cradle of Filth, Guar, all those bands that wear a lot of stage costume that won't get in their stage costume before they go to stage, and you have to shoot them on the way to stage, while you can. So you have to make sure everything's right. You got the spot. They're, protected where they want to be. They're in a place they feel safe to do the photo shoot. They walk in, snap, 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 go, and you get the shoot. So yeah, it's a lot of trouble, problem solving and figuring out issues that might arise, especially when you're shooting a band, in a festival after doors. They're the headliner, but they can't go anywhere but from their dressing room to the stage. You have to find a good spot. So there's definitely a lot of that. And then with lighting, lighting is all sorts of, okay, how do I make this terrible thing look cool?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes quickly, like you're saying, if you got to do it in that trip between the dressing room and the stage and you only have what you have.
Exactly. So it's a lot of that. It's a lot of problem solving and making sure, everybody's happy, which is very difficult because you want to make the band happy, you want to make the tour manager happy, you want to make the venue happy, you want to make sure you're happy with the shots, and the magazine or whoever you're shooting for happy, management happy, and all while figuring out a 30-second photo shoot in a space no bigger than, a small restroom or something like that.
Well, that's all I've got. Chris, you got anything else?
No, I don't, man. But this was a really illuminating conversation. Thank you so much for talking with us.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much. Well, the book is Daughters of Darkness, and you can get it at daughtersofdarknessbook.com. Pre-orders are for the next month or so, and it comes with all sorts of free goodies like signed prints signed by the models in the book. There's a lot of celebrities and a lot of well-known models in the book. And it comes with like t-shirts and corpse paint guitar picks, which are really cool, and all sorts of stuff. In terms of me, just all my socials are just Jeremy Saffer. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those things are Jeremy Saffer.
Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it. Good luck with the book, and I'll see you online and be talking to you through the weeks.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Stay safe.
Man.
Thanks.
Later.
Bye.
See ya.
Welcome to my 120 seconds or less of Brutally Delicious. I'm Ash Leigh, and today we are checking out Chugger that comes straight from the freaking magical land of Gothenburg, Sweden. Tell me that does not sound like the most badass place to be from. Anyway, they're a 5-piece crew that was formed by Robert Barmere in 2006, which I'm totally sorry if I screw up your fancy last name, guy. But finally they became active in late 2012. They're a crazy fusion of both Swedish and American death metals. I think they got it right with groove death metal because they're so different. Like, I don't have words to describe their sound. They're literally something else, and I love that they classify themselves as a full metal avalanche that stops for nothing. They have 2 albums and several singles out. Their most recent album is called Of Man and Machine. It's just sick as hell. And I know that's such a generic thing to say about music, but honestly, I knew as soon as I listened to the first song, Turning Point, that the entire album was just going to be something I wanted to bust my eardrums to. And I mean that in the best way. I'm not going to try and butcher the rest of these guys' last names, but the formula, the chemistry all these guys have playing together, it's just, once you hear one song, you'll realize just how fucking legendary it is. And I think they've got a great thing, and I hope they continue to put out more albums for the rest of their lives. Their albums can be found anywhere you look, like Apple Music, Spotify, or YouTube, so go check them out, and we'll catch you next time.